The Congress party in Telangana is up in arms. It's condemned the non-inclusion of Sonia Gandhi's name in school textbooks. Now, there is a chapter on the formation of the state of Telangana, and this chapter is titled The Movement for the Formation of Telangana State. It's been included in this year's Social Studies textbook for class 10. However, this 14-page long chapter, while it showers praise on Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao and his party, the Telangana Rashtra Samiti, the Congress is unhappy that Sonia Gandhi's name hasn't been included. The Congress has demanded that the TRS government revise the textbook and include the role played by Sonia Gandhi and the Congress party in the formation of the Telangana state. Now, what we're being told is in this political issue, there is some forward movement, but let's listen into reactions that are coming in.
हमारा बेसिक आरोप है आपने वादा किया था, हम डिमांड से पहले आप खुद ही कहा कि तारीख में लिखी जाएंगी तो सोनिया गांधी के नाम से लिखी जाएंगी तारीख, ये केसीआर का वादा है। आपका वादा हम याद दिला रहे हैं, अगर तुम याद नहीं करेंगे तो हम आवाम की अदालत में जाएंगे।
See, we have to write about the history of Telangana and Congress's contribution to it. The history is deep. It runs very deep. We have to talk about the betrayal of Congress from 1956, the hegemony of Congress, the tyranny of Congress, the injustice perpetrated by successive Congress governments, and eventually the political exigency of Congress party in 2014, the compulsion that was conferred on them by the people of Telangana. We have to write a long story. So if Congress is prepared for that, we have no problem.
And I want to bring in Editor South, T.S. Sudhir, for more on this. Sudhir, while this textbook, as those pictures point out, talk about the K. Chandrasekhar Rao fast since 2009 and how Telangana was born, the Congress party is up in arms saying the Congress party had been fighting for a separate state even before TRS was formed. What is the Congress party's strategy now?
Well, this entire controversy has erupted just about 4 or 5 days before Telangana actually celebrates its first formation day on the 2nd of June. And this is really the chapter in the textbook for class 10 students which the Congress has objected to. This is chapter number 22, and the mention of KCR is on page number 329. There is an elaborate mention of KCR and no mention at all of Sonia Gandhi. And as you heard there, the IT Minister of Telangana making the point that the Congress has a long history of actually cheating the people of Telangana and giving Telangana only when it suited their political interests in 2014. The Congress really doesn't have much of a choice now. It is agitating. It wants to point out the fact that K. Chandrasekhar Rao himself had actually acknowledged the contribution made by Sonia Gandhi and her decision to actually carve out Andhra Pradesh and deliver Telangana. But the fact remains now that the TRS government is in place. It is actually poaching on Congress MLAs, and obviously Congress as an opposition party doesn't really have much of a choice except to create a noise about the fact that the TRS government has completely left out Sonia Gandhi's contribution.
Is this now restricted just to raising their voice and their opposition, or does the Congress have a strategy and they intend taking this matter to court, saying Sonia Gandhi had a major role to play in the formation of Telangana and that is being ignored by the TRS?
Well, I don't think the Congress really has any kind of plans to go the legal route. It will, of course, make a lot of noise. It will try to point out the fact, in fact, releasing CDs of KCR's own speeches where he actually acknowledged the contribution made by Sonia Gandhi in the formation of a separate Telangana state, and thereby trying to imply that KCR is actually going back on his word. His government is actually not fulfilling the promise that KCR himself made that Sonia Gandhi's name will be remembered in the formation of Telangana. So in that sense, politics being played over a class 10 textbook of social science here in Telangana.
And what's the next step then? 2nd June is where the big birthday party happens, the Telangana birthday bash happens. What then? Is the Congress intending to raise the pitch before that? Because the TRS is also saying that the Congress agreed to it only when it suited them politically. So is there a middle path that they can find, or are they on two different warring sides?
Well, there is really no love lost between the TRS and the Congress here in Telangana. The TRS has been poaching on several Congress MLAs here in Telangana, and they also want to be recognized as the only people who actually fought for the cause of Telangana and achieved it. So in that sense, they're really not willing to share any kind of credit with the Congress in Telangana. So in that sense, I don't think the TRS will really be willing to budge even an inch as far as an issue of this kind is concerned. So the Congress at this point of time really not having much of a choice except to rave and rant over an issue like this, that Sonia Gandhi was not in included in a chapter which was devoted to the formation of Telangana in the class 10 textbook.
Okay, I have Uttam Kumar Reddy, President of the Telangana Congress, who's joining me now on the broadcast. Sir, what is the Congress Party's strategy with the government now clearly indicating that it's their role, it's the TRS role that was involved in the formation of the state and the Congress being ignored?
Just to give you a background.
Yes.
Well before this textbook was published, which is now printed but not as yet released to the students, there was a discussion on this on several occasions, both in the Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Council. The Chief Minister himself had admitted during a debate on this issue of rewriting of textbooks in the Legislative Council that we all admit that while TRS party did the agitation for the creation of Telangana state, it was the role of Madam Sonia Gandhi and that of the Congress party and the UPA, which was part of the center at that time, that the Telangana state got created. It's on record and is admitted in the Legislative Council. And he also said that, yes, as and when we reread the textbook of Telangana, we would, to use his own words, we would be murk if we did not include the name of Sonia Gandhi as having been the key person in the creation of Telangana state. To our utter surprise, we recently found that the books had been printed, and this is a social studies book for class 10th for the entire students of Telangana schools. That is all about glorification of KCR and TRS party.
Yes.
And nowhere is the role of Sonia Gandhi, Madam Sonia Gandhi, chairperson of UPA or of Congress party in the creation of the separate Telangana state. Now we have issued our protest to the government that a chapter must be rewritten and that the role of the Congress party, the UPA and of Madam Sonia Gandhi in the creation of Telangana state must be included in the textbook.
Uttam Kumar Reddy, President Telangana Congress, and T.S. Sudhir, Editor South. For the moment, many thanks for joining me.